Alright, so some new stuff has been revealed and I didn't cover it because I was out of town, but you know what? That's boring anyway, and I'd rather analyze the information than report on it. The biggest news was the Zygarde, the useless legendary from Generation 6 that was previously thought to do absolutely nothing, seems to be able to do quite a lot of things. Along with that, it seems the new season of the cartoon is going to be called Pokemon X, Y, and Z. Anyway, I think it's safe to surmise that the next installment in Generation 6 is going to be Pokemon Z. Oh, and Ash can do the fusion dance with his Greninja or some shit, and it's literally called Ash Form Greninja. Cool. The point of all this is that I think Pokemon Z is intentionally and quite obviously going to be heavily inspired by Dragon Ball Z, and I think that the biggest, most glaring sign of this being true is what's going on with Zygarde. He's Cell. Yes, that Cell. So like I said, Zygarde got a whole mess of new forms, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. First off, let's take a look at the name itself. It seems very likely that the name Zygarde is inspired by the word zygote, and for those of you that spend high school biology class hunting through your textbooks for pictures of genitalia, a zygote in humans is the cell that forms when a sperm successfully fertilizes an egg cell. So boom, he's a cell. His body is also covered in these individual cell-like hexagons, and people have been speculating about this for a while. This is nothing new, but it does support the new hypothesis that Zygarde is based on the Cell from Dragon Ball Z. So, as for new information, Zygarde apparently has all these different forms, and they just so happen to correspond pretty much exactly with Cell's forms in Dragon Ball Z. First, we have Zygarde's Cell form, which corresponds with Cell's larval form. This is not confusing at all. These are the single cells that make up Zygarde. They don't have any will or thought processes, and they're found scattered throughout the region. Then there's Zygarde's core form, which corresponds with Cell's cocoon form. This aspect of Zygarde is little more than a part of the Pokemon's brain, but unlike the cells, the core is self-aware. Then there's Zygarde's 10% form, which corresponds with Cell's imperfect form, and this is the form that the Zygarde core takes when it gathers 10% of its nearby cells. Then you've got the 50% form, which corresponds with Cell's semi-perfect form, and this is the Zygarde form we all know and don't really love. This form only has 50% of the cells in its structure. And finally, we have Zygarde's complete form, which corresponds with Cell's perfect form, and this is described to be the perfect form of Zygarde that it takes when the core gathers 100% of the cells. When the ecosystem is under threat and the core concludes that the 50% form will be unable to deal with it, the core takes on the complete form. Its power is said to be greater than that of the legendary Pokemon Xerneas and Yveltal. That's important. Now, it would seem that Zygarde achieves its various forms by absorbing its own cells, which seem to be scattered across the region, which means that Zygarde 50%, the form we find in the wild in Pokemon X and Y, has absorbed half of all the Zygarde cells out there. But that seems odd, because throughout X and Y, it's not like we find any Zygarde cells in the wild. So, where are the remaining 50% hiding? Well, let's go back to Cell for a minute, Dragon Ball Z Cell. Remember how imperfect Cell fed on an entire town worth of people in order to grow stronger, but ultimately he couldn't become perfect until he absorbed Android 17 and 18? Cell probably could have absorbed all the life on the planet, but if he was never able to shove 17 and 18 up his tail's ass, he'd never reach his final form. Well, much like Cell, Zygarde can absorb all of its free-roaming cells and still not reach its perfect form. So where are the other 50% hiding? What are Zygarde's Android 17 and 18? How about Xerneas and Yveltal? I doubt I'm the first person to suspect that this is going to happen, but I think it's an awesome concept and I really wanted to share it with you guys. This first dawned on me when I noticed the red and blue wing-like things on Zygarde's perfect form. Along with the already obvious parallels to Cell, it seemed plausible that this form was attained when Zygarde absorbed its counterparts, and it makes even more sense when you think about how third installments usually go in the Pokemon main series. Specifically the fact that both previous legendaries appear and are involved in the story, while the focus of the plot is actually on the third legendary. And with Xerneas being a life-granting thing, and Yveltal being a life-draining thing, it seems totally feasible that the two of them would be locked in an eternal battle that jeopardizes the entire region, and seeing as how Zygarde's job is to keep the region's environment from falling into disarray, he would show up to stop them. And how's he gonna do that? By absorbing both of them, damn it. I mean, this isn't the first time we've seen Pokemon get absorbed or fused together. This could function exactly the same way as the DNA splicers in Black and White 2 that enabled Kyurem to fuse with Zekrom or Reshiram. So yeah, I mean, I may be wrong about the circumstances surrounding the absorption, but I firmly believe Zygarde's perfect form will be attained by absorbing Xerneas and Yveltal, just like Cell could only reach his perfect form by absorbing the androids. It just makes too much sense. Dookie, out. Hey, thanks for watching this theory video. I really love doing this stuff, and I'm getting excited about Pokemon again because they're finally announcing some, actual new stuff. I mean, even though it's a third installment, so it's probably going to be a lot like X and Y, but I mean, if we look the way Black and White 2 went, it might actually be pretty different, which would actually be really cool, and I'd be really excited about that because I really like Black and White 2. But anyway, If this is your first time here, thank you for watching, and make sure you subscribe to my channel, and you should also follow me on Twitter at DOOKIESHED, and I guess if you want, you can look me up on Facebook, but I kind of hate Facebook, so whatever, there's that. Anyway, subscribe, or I'll kill you. Bye.